In this video, we'll be learning how to create a basic video in Adobe Photoshop. Let's get started. First thing you want to do is come to the top of your screen and go to Window, Workspace, and choose Motion. And then I always like to, just for good measure, go to Window, Workspace, and then choose Reset Motion. And that gets everything right back where it's supposed to be. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to get our clips in here, our videos in here. We're going to do that by using this button right down here at the bottom. This is the Add Media button. So we're going to click on this and choose Add Media. It's going to pop up, and here are my video clips, so I'm just going to choose a handful of these and press open. Okay, I've got all my clips loaded up here. Let's take a quick look around and see what we're looking at. First thing, check over here on the layers panel. You notice each individual clip has its own layer, and they're in order. This one at the bottom is the first clip in the timeline, and this one at the top is the last one. If you want to reorganize the order of your clips, the easiest way to do that is just click and drag them around here in the layers panel. Just be careful though that you don't click and drag it outside of the folder like I'm doing right here. See how I let go and it doesn't quite line up with the other videos, and you can see over here in my timeline now it's in a really weird spot, and that doesn't work for me, so I'm going to just click and drag this back into the folder. Just make sure your clips stay inside of that folder right there. Now let's take a look over here at the timeline. We've got a couple of different options here. The most important one, and the thing you'll be changing frequently, is your timeline zoom, and that's this guy right here. You can see I can make it so I can see all of my clips, or I can be super zoomed in on just one clip. And that's a really easy way to navigate around in the timeline, and this is probably the thing I'm changing the most when I'm editing video. I'm constantly switching back and forth between being able to see all my clips and then being a little more zoomed in on a clip. And of course, when you are zoomed in, you can use this little slider right here to kind of navigate around inside the timeline. And there you go, that's the timeline. Okay, now we need to go in and start editing our video. Some clips, like this first one I have, no part of this clip is like super important to me. There's no part of it that's more important than any other. But I do want to shorten the whole thing down because right now it's too long. So it doesn't really matter whether I shorten from the beginning or the end, because I just want to make it about 5 seconds long. So I'm going to actually grab the end and click. You see, if I put my cursor right on the edge of the clip, it turns into that weird looking dude. And if I click and drag, I got a couple of different things happening. One, Photoshop has popped up a little window to kind of show me where my end point will be, or what the ending of my clip will look like. So I'm looking at that, and I'm also looking at that duration there in the top right hand corner. Right now that's at 5 frames, or 5 seconds and 7 frames. And I want about 5 seconds per clip for this video. You obviously will use a duration that works for the video you're making, but 5 seconds works for me, so I'm going to go ahead and just let go right there. And you can see Photoshop shortened that down, and then it automatically shifted all my other clips over for me. So let's go to the next clip now. Now this one is important. I do want a certain part, like right there he starts out in focus and then he gets blurry and then he goes in focus again, and I kind of want that part just where he's in focus, kind of right there in the middle. So I need to take some from the beginning and some from the end of this clip in order to get it to line up. So what I'm going to do is put my playhead right about where I want this clip to start, which for me is right about there. And you can see by putting my playhead there, now if I put my cursor here on the left edge of the clip, again it turns into that weird looking thing. If I click and drag, I can click this over, and when I get to where the playhead is, Photoshop will kind of automatically snap to it and let go. And when I let go, it shifts everything over again. And then I can grab the right edge, and again, maybe before I do that, I can pick the spot that I want it to end at, maybe right about there. So I'll grab my right edge and drag that over and snap that right into there. Perfect. So I'm just going to go through the rest of my clips and decide what part of the clip I want to use, and I'm going to shorten them all down to around 5 seconds. Let me show you something real quick with this clip. You can see if I click on this edge, the duration is currently 6 seconds and 2 frames. If I try to shorten this, it automatically jumps from 6 to 4 seconds and 22 frames. The reason why it's doing that is because I'm too zoomed out. If I zoom in on this clip and kind of stretch it out like that, it'll be much easier to make little adjustments. So now I can click and drag, and I can pretty easily move that around at the 5 second mark. So if you're having trouble finding the time or getting the right time on your clips, just zoom in on the timeline using this slider right here, and that will help solve that problem. Okay, I've got the duration of all my clips adjusted, and now I want to go through and adjust my colors and my contrast. So I'm going to start by clicking on my first clip and of course putting my playhead over it so that I can see if I'm going to make any changes to it, what they will look like. And I'm going to come over here to my layers panel. You can see the clip is already selected in the layers panel because I clicked on it in the timeline. And I'm going to click on this black and white circle right here. These are the fill or adjustment layers, and I'm going to start off, of course, by just choosing a levels adjustment layer. And you can see that created a layer right above this clip, but it's a clipping mask, so that what I do here will only affect this clip, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust my levels on this clip here. And then I'm going to do my hue and saturation as well. And just like that, you can see I've already made this clip looking quite a bit better by just those 2 quick adjustments. Now I'm going to go through and do some kind of adjustment to all the rest of my clips. I would normally just do levels and saturation, although if I had a clip that maybe I wanted to do in black and white or something like that, I might do that. Just remember, you got to click on the clip, and then you have to move the playhead over that clip so you can see the changes that you're going to be making to it. So maybe click on here and do a black and white filter there. And then I'm just going to keep working my way through until I have the effects on all my clips. Alright, so I've got levels and adjustments done to all of my clips. My video is really looking good now. Let's really take it to the next level. I want to start my clip with a nice fade in from black. So I'm going to click right here on this black and white box. I'm going to choose fade with black to start this off. So you can drag a fade with black to either the beginning or the end of a clip, but you can't put it right in the middle. I'm going to put this one at the beginning, and that's going to give me a nice fade in from black. And I'd like the end of the video to fade out to white. So I'll grab a fade with white. I'm going to click and drag this and drag it down there. You don't have to do a black or a white fade, but you certainly can. You have some other options in here too. You can also change the duration. Let me zoom in on this clip. You can see I've got my black fade right here, and I can make this longer by just putting my cursor right there and clicking and dragging that out. And so you can change how long your durations last by doing that. Okay, now I want to put some transitions between my clips, and one of the easiest and best ones to use is what's called a crossfade. So I'm going to grab this crossfade transition, I'm going to click and drag, and you can see when I put that down there, it goes over both clips, and what that's going to do is going to fade one clip out and fade the other one in at the same time, and it's a really good look. It has a very professional looking transition. So I'm going to put crossfades on all of my clips here. Next, let's come in and right click on one of these clips, and you can see that brings up either video options and audio options. In the video options, you can speed up or slow down a clip. I would not recommend that you slow down a clip, especially if you shot it at a low frames per second, like 30, because that's just going to give you really junky looking slow motion. But speeding up a clip, I have no problem with that. So if you wanted a clip that looks sped up, you could raise that up to 150 or 200% or whatever you want. Just know that when you do speed up clips, you do lose the sound. Photoshop removes the sound from the clip, so keep that in mind. Let's also look at this audio. What I would like to do is I would like for my very first clip to fade in. Since it fades in from black, I'd also like the audio to fade in. So what I'm going to do is come and click on that clip and right click on it, go to audio, and I'm going to do just about a 2 or 3 second fade in. And then I'm going to come to my last clip and right click on that and go to audio and do a fade out, because if the picture is going to fade out, I want the sound to also fade out. You could also mute the audio or turn it up or down, which is actually what we're going to do, because we're about to add music to this video, and I don't want the audio from the clips and the audio from the music to clash with each other. So I want the clips to be quieter. I don't want to completely get rid of the sound. If I did, I would just choose mute audio. But instead, I'm going to go through and turn the volume down on each clip to about 50%. And that's going to make it so we can still hear the clips, but that we focus more on the music that's playing than the audio in the clips. Okay, let's add some music to this. You need to be able to see your audio track right here. If you can't see it, a lot of times it's because this right here got expanded out, so you need to contract this by clicking on that little arrow. You can also click and drag on your timeline and move it up a little bit so you can see a little bit better down here. But we're looking for the audio track and the music note. We're going to click on that. We're going to choose Add Audio. I've already downloaded an MP3. You need to find some kind of MP3 or music or audio file from somewhere. You're on your own for that. So I'm going to just go ahead and double click on this to load it up. And you can see this clip is way too long. It's substantially longer than my video is. So I need to do something about that. Well, this music that I've downloaded, the first 38 seconds or so are just random noise and stuff that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this left edge of my clip and just drag this over until I get to about 38 seconds. And I've already taken the time to figure out where I need to put this. If you haven't done that, what you would do is you would just put your playhead where you know the music starts, and you can hear it if you just press the play button here. And then just leave your playhead right there, and then just click and drag this, and it'll snap right to that point. Okay. But I've got mine, and I feel good about that. And now I need to zoom out, and obviously I do not want my audio to continue for 33 minutes after my clips end. So I'm just going to drag this over until it snaps right up against the edge of that right there. We can, of course, do fade in and fades out on our music. I'm not going to do a fade in, but I do want to do a fade out. So I'm just going to right click on my green audio track here, and I'm just going to do a fade out here of about 5 or 6 seconds. And it's just going to slowly fade that out when it comes to the end there. Okay, now one of the last things we need to do is add a title to this. We're going to do that by coming over here to Video Group 1 and clicking on this little button right here. And we're going to choose New Video Group. And that's going to give us a new, basically a layer here that we can add things to. And I'm going to move my playhead to the very beginning of my timeline. And grab my Type tool and go ahead and set my alignment to the left. Size about 60, color to white since my background is black. And I'm going to go ahead and just click. And we're going to call this movie Fight with Honor. Press the enter key by the numbers to tell Photoshop we're done typing. And you can see this thing showed up on its own video group layer. And so it will be on top of whatever is below it. You can also change the duration or time of this clip. And we can even add a fade in and a fade out to this clip, which I'm going to do. And I also want to extend the time on this fade in and fade out. And then I want it to end right at the time that the second clip ends. So see if we watch this now. The title fades in with the transition, and then it fades out towards the end. Perfect, perfect. Okay, we are set. The only thing we need to do now is just do a quick file save to make sure we save up our finished work. We want to save all our layers. Make sure you're saving it as a .psd file. I've already saved mine once, so I just saved it again. And now we need to export it, because right now it's just a Photoshop file. We need to turn this into something we can put on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. So we're going to go to File, Export, and choose Render Video. And there's really only 3 things here you need to worry about. The name, if you want to change the name, you can do that now. The save location. Make sure you're paying attention to where you're saving your video so you can find it later. And then lastly, the preset. And I think the easiest one to use is just YouTube HD 1080p 29.97. So that's the one I would recommend you use. Once you've got that set, you just need to hit render, and it takes about 5 minutes or so. And then when you're done, you're done.